Good morning, Fiber friends. Welcome to another episode of the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. I am your host. My name is Dorothy, and I am coming to you from Columbia, Maryland. Grab a cup of something to keep your whistle wet, grab a project to keep your hands busy, and come and join me on my couch, and let's talk all about the fiber fun. Hey folks, editing me here again. So this is part 2. Yes, I used the same intro because I wasn't going to bother redoing it. So I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode, and I'll be catching up with you after Tour de Fleece. Bye! The very last whip that I have to share with you all is a spinning project. I believe quite a while ago I had shared some braids that I had purchased from, it is an Etsy dyer, Nanette, what is her name? Nanette Wakes, I think. She was having a super fantastic sale on her braids. I didn't even realize she was dyeing fiber. She was, I purchased many mini skeins from her for several different projects over the years. But this was a skein of Falkland Merino from that large purchase that I made. So I have two, what am I thinking of? Oh my God. Menopause brain is so real. Bobbins. What is wrong with me? So I have two bobbins. I had split the braid in half lengthwise. I did my very, very best to spin these at a consistent thickness so that hopefully when I apply them together, I should get a sport weight yarn. So these are done. This one looks thicker, but I think that's only because the center is thicker than the center of this one. So these will get plied together, and then I will share that hopefully in the next episode. So with that, that is the end of all of my whips. I need to take a bit of a break, put some of this stuff away, and then pull out what I purchased at Frederick and at Maryland to share with you guys. So this is probably a good time to take a pause, go get a drink, and come back. I'll be right back. So let's move on to acquisitions and fiber festivals. So first up, I went to the Frederick Fiber Festival with my friend Ellen and Judy. I think it was just the three of us. Oh, and Candace. Ellen, Judy, and Candace. So it was four of us that went. Four wisecracking women that should never be together. But anywho, since I had already been going through all of my yarn and redoing my yarn jewelry, I knew that I didn't need any more yarn. And I stuck to that. I really don't need any more fiber either, but I didn't stick to that. But I was pretty good at Frederick. So the first thing I bought at Frederick, so Frederick Fiber Festival is a smaller festival that is in, probably about an hour north of me. It's been going on for a while. It started, I don't even know when it started. I would say less than 10 years ago, I think. And it was the Frederick Post that started it. And now they moved. They used to host it in the basement of the Frederick Post building. Now it has moved to the Frederick Fairgrounds. My brain this morning, you would think after having a cup of coffee it would be a little bit better, but it's not. So the Frederick Fiber Festival is definitely a smaller festival than the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. There are only a couple of barns. I think it was like 4 or 5 barns, and no outside tents or anything like that. There were a few yarn trucks. My friends and I went early in the morning because we knew it was going to be a rainy day. What else is new in Maryland at this time of the year? And we went through the buildings. The very first purchase I made were these adorable sheep lights that I'm going to hang in my yarntuary once I get it finished up. And once again, they run on AA batteries. I wish I had bought a second set. And who did I buy these from? I bought these from Create Yarn Works, who is Elise. And if you want additional information, you could scan that QR code. Hopefully that gave you a clear picture when I put it in front of my face. The dyer is Elise Koch, which I think is hysterical because my best friend in high school, his last name was Koch, and he knew the whole family. I should ask Elise one day if she has family in New York. Anyway, it's Create Yarn Works. And I bought these little sheep lights. And my friend Ellen copied me. I lied. I actually copied her this time. She's the one that found the sheep lights. So these will go up. Like I said, I wish I had bought a second set, but one is okay. And then the other thing I purchased from her is this beautiful dragon pin. And because of the way it's hung, I could also use it. Because of the way the pin is mounted, I could also put it on a chain and wear it as a necklace. So pretty. I also bought a pair of sheep earrings, which I was supposed to have put on, and apparently I did not. So they are upstairs. I will put in a picture here. There was a woman who did tatting, and she had tatted a cute, adorable pair of sheep earrings, which I purchased. We did a lot of walking around. We went to all the booths. I did get to see Aquila, who was there demonstrating the circular sock knitting, the Earl Bacher Speedster sock knitting machine. She had her own little setup with the machine. She had a table out where she displayed all kinds of different things that she has made on her machine, which was not only just socks. And I have something in my eye now. Oh, I hate when I get something in my eye. She had a table set up where she displayed all kinds of things that she has made with her circular sock knitting machine. That was not just socks. She had some Christmas ornaments. She had some dolls. I think she had some flowers. I think I took a picture. If I did, I will post it up here so you guys could see all the wonderful things that she has made with her sock machine. And if you have never seen her channel, go check it out. She has a whole playlist on how to use the circular sock machine and what she's done on it. And she goes through it very step by step. It's very, very entertaining and educational. And that is what caused me to buy my sock knitting machine. Then I went and visited Alk and Me again. I love these two ladies, and for the life of me, I can't think of their names right now. I had an absolutely wonderful conversation with them about yarn dyeing and business, and I can't believe their name completely escapes me. I am so bad with names. Anyway, I saw this, and I am not usually a neon person. I shouldn't say that. I do love neons. I just don't think they look so good on me. But it doesn't have to look good on me to spin it up, right? So I saw this braid, and it is their Shanico wool. And I'm sorry, I can never remember if it's Shanico or Shanico. I think it's Shanico. If you know, please correct me in the comments. I have really got to work on that. So it is 80% Shanico wool and 20% mulberry silk. The color is Respite. And look at that. Is that not gorgeous? I was thinking of spinning this up on one bobbin and then spinning up a braid of black and then plying them together. It's going to be stunning. And this wool is so soft. And it helps that the silk is in it because it just feels so silky. And that was all I purchased at the Frederick Fiber Festival. Like I said, I was very, very good. I did not purchase any yarn. I didn't purchase mini skeins because I have a ton of those as well. But we had an entertaining morning. We got out of there before the rains really started to come down. And I think afterwards, me and Ellen went for a nice lunch. I think we met up with her daughter and had lunch out. I don't even remember where we went. It was so long ago. Anyway, it was a lovely Saturday spent with beautiful, beautiful fiber, great friends, entertainment, and all kinds of stuff. For some reason, I think we missed a barn. I'm not quite sure because I know Tess was supposed to be there and I didn't see her. Now I heard afterwards that she was late, so maybe we didn't miss a barn. But I always enjoy the Frederick Fiber Festival. It happens twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. It's a smaller festival. There's, like I said, they only use a couple of barns and there are no outside tents set up. There were several yarn trucks at this one. I'm sure it was Frogget Yarn, Rising Tides Yarn, and I know there was, I think, one or two others. And then one of the barns is usually a whole bunch of local foods and farmers and stuff like that. So there was cheeses, there was wine, there was moonshine, there were sweet treats, which I stayed away from. It's just a very different atmosphere. It's very low key. There are a few animals outside, not very many, nothing like, Maryland sheep and wool or Rhinebeck. They have a little blow up castle to entertain the kids that are not interested in the fibers. Although the last couple of times it's been raining because that has just been Maryland spring weather lately. Then I think it was the following weekend was the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. I registered for 2 different classes. I registered for a gradient dyeing class with Peggy Dooney. I did not know who she was before the class, but the description of the class really interested me and I wanted to learn more about doing gradient dyes. And then I took a mixing colorwork braids spinning class with Jillian Moreno, which was absolutely so much fun, so educational, and really got my juices flowing for wanting to play around with spinning and colors. So first up, I will talk about the dyeing class that I took. So the way Peggy Dooney sets up the gradient dyeing is we are dyeing, oh God, what was it? 36 different colors. And the way it's set up is it's in a square, and the squares have 4 different quadrants. And for whatever reason, the way it was set up, the first quadrant, it would go, 3 across, and then 3, and then 3. So it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you would move up to the second quadrant where it would go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you would, for some reason, you would automatically think that when you start pulling them out of these quadrants, if you just lined them up across the row and then lined up the second row and then the third and the fourth, that it would be a gradient like that. But it actually doesn't work that way. It actually works up that the gradient goes within the quadrants. So like I said, the first quadrant is 3 by 3, right? 3, 6, 9 times 4, 30, yes. So it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you move over to the second quadrant, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I did take pictures of them lined up, like basically 1 through 36, and you'll see, I will put the pictures up here, you will see that it does not go in like a very nice gradient format. But once we rearranged it and put it in the quadrant order, the gradient flowed a little bit better. Now, it's not a perfect gradient, but it does work. We each had, there were 4 tables set up, so each table had its own little quadrant to do. The darkest colors Peggy had done ahead of time because they required much more saturation time than would allow us in the class. Now the dyeing class was actually a full day class. And oh my God, that morning, my friends that are watching me are probably already giggling because they know the story. The week before Maryland Sheep's Wool is when things got really crazy with my parents down in Florida. Between looking for, trying to talk my mom off the ledge on phone calls and researching flights and figuring out how I'm going to get out of, how to take time off of work to get all this done, my brain was mush. And on my computer, I had 2 different dyeing classes that were being taught at Sheep and Wool open, because I kept flipping back and forth between them. And I originally thought, and they were both taught by Peggy Dooney. She actually taught 3 different dyeing classes. I wish I had taken all 3 of them, but unfortunately I could not afford to take all 3 of them. So I took the gradient one, but I had the triad one opening that I was looking at and reading the information on. And that's where you use 3 colors, and depending upon how you mix them, you get all these different colors in a triad format, triangle format, I mean. And the triad dyeing was on Thursday, and the gradient dyeing was a Friday class. Now, I had put in for personal leave for that Thursday, thinking I was taking the Thursday class, and then realized my mistake Wednesday, so was able to go into the system and switch my day off from Thursday to Friday. And then Friday morning, I get to the art center where the class is being taught, and for some reason, I had the triangle dyeing class up on my phone, which was on Thursday. And I started to freak out, thinking I completely missed my dyeing class. I was devastated in the car. I'm like, I can't believe this. If I had to go to Maryland, because there was a possibility I would have had to have gone to Florida right before Sheep and Wool, and I would have had to have given up these classes because it was too late to cancel anyway. And I was so mad at myself because going back and forth with all of that, I screwed up my schedule, and I thought, shit, I missed my class. I can't believe that I did that. I just threw away 100 and some odd money. I was so frustrated, and I'm texting my friends back and forth, like, I can't believe I did this. I totally, flaked out on my class. I'm here on the wrong day. My class was actually yesterday, blah, blah. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to go in and just act like I goofed. I'm in the wrong class. So I go in, and the person is there and asked me what my name was, and I told her my name, and she was like, okay, great, go over there, put your name on a name tag. And I'm walking through, and I'm going, did she not realize that I'm not in this class? And then I heard Peggy say something to the effect that, she had invited the folks that were in the class on Thursday to come in if they wanted to just observe the Friday class. So I said, okay, maybe that's why they didn't think anything of it. And so, I'm sitting there and talking to a couple of the people that are in the class, and all of a sudden Peggy was talking and said, so I know we all voted to do the colorways between blues and greens. And I was like, oh my God, whew, I'm in the right class. I texted my friends and said, you're not going to believe this. I'm in the right class. Of course, they all laughed hysterically. And then they were talking amongst themselves, saying that, wow, her mother, because I am usually the memory in this group. I'm the one that tends to remember so much of the non-important things. It's so strange. They were like, wow, if Dorothy can't remember what day her class was, her mother, her situation really was bad. So luckily I brought lunch. The class was very educational. I really enjoyed it. Peggy has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to dyeing, and especially gradient dyeing and how she does it. It's just amazing. She dyes fibers and she dyes yarns in gradients, and she will use up to 15 different colors to get the gradient to work. It was just amazing. I had brought my lunch that day, so I sat in the classroom and ate lunch, and I ate lunch with Peggy and her husband, Jeff, I think was his name. I would check, but unfortunately I am recording on my phone. But anyway, I got to have a lovely, lovely conversation with them while we were eating lunch. They are so down to earth, just great, great folks. If you ever are going to a fiber festival and you want to take a dyeing class and Peggy is dyeing, or Peggy is the instructor, I highly recommend it. It was a great class. As she was sharing how she came up with this method during COVID, she brought out some of the braids that she dyes and sells, and yeah, I had to buy 2. So the braids that I bought are 2 braids that are BFL and silk. Let me see, so it's 75% BFL, 25% Tussa silk. And this is a 6-ounce gradient braid, and the colorway is called Mine. So yes, it's mine. It called to me. Look at how these colors work. So she basically has 15 different colors that she uses to do gradients to go from one end to the other. And this braid, I mean, I have never seen a braid so fluffy that you could literally just pull the fibers off to spin. I think this is going to be just a dream to spin. Now, I understand that each braid is broken up into 3 2-ounce strips. So I haven't fully opened them up to see how they look, but I did buy 2 braids of it. So I have 12 ounces of this, BFL and Tussa Silk. My plan is hopefully with this much, I can spin a sport weight and I can spin enough to make, and it's an Andrea Mowry shawl that she uses specifically for like hand spun yarn. And I can't remember. Excuse me, I'm going to have to look it up because I can't remember the name. The Traveler shawl. She also has the Traveler's cowl, which is also made with hand spun yarn, but I want to make the shawl. So the shawl requires a sport weight yarn that is between 830 yards and 1200 yards. So I am hoping that with 12 ounces of this, I will have enough to make this shawl. Hopefully more on the larger end, on the more yardage end, but we shall see. And I have a feeling that this might be a Tour de Fleece project, which for those of you that are spinners, Tour de Fleece is done every year during the Tour de France bike ride. And I believe that starts July 5th or 7th, and I think it's a 3-week thing. And then some folks will just spin for the Tour de Fleece, which is for the Tour de France, which is just the men's cycling. Others will continue because usually right after the men's is the, I believe it's called the Tour de Femme, which is the female Tour de France, which is right after. I think that's what I remember from last year, but last year there was a break because of the Olympics being in France. So I will have to look that up. But I think that's correct, that the tour, and maybe it's in that 3-week window, and I'm just, because this is only my second year of touring Tour de Fleece, I don't know that the full window. But anyway, that I think is going to be my plan for Tour de Fleece. Then Saturday, we went to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. Now, a bunch of my friends from the knitting group, we got there early and we were first in line. And when we entered, we were going to head straight to where the stage is, where the musicians play. And we were going to set up our chairs in a circle so that, when you needed a break, chairs were there for people who couldn't do a whole lot of walking. They could just sit and knit, and we would bring back our purchases. And if they liked anything, we'd be happy to go and purchase it for them because they were not as mobile. Unfortunately, due to weather, not a whole lot of those people came, which saddened me because I just love the Sheep and Wool Festival, just to hang out and knit and the camaraderie. And when it first started, it used to be the biggest, I think it was the biggest yarn festival before Rhinebeck. And then Rhinebeck slowly became more popular because Rhinebeck is really more geared towards a fiber festival, whereas the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival started out really being geared more towards the farmers, because there used to be a lot of farm equipment vendors. But over the years, the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival has gotten way more into the yarn aspect of it and less so into the sheep aspect of it, although they still do a lot more of the sheepy things than Rhinebeck does. They have the auctions for the sheep. They have demonstrations of sheep herding dogs. They do a sheep to shawl contest on Sunday where they literally start with the sheeps, and when it starts, the sheep get sheared, the fleece gets carded, they're spinning in the grease, they're warping up the loom, and they're weaving a shawl. And that's pretty much the whole day. And that's usually a team of people, because you need a shearer, you need carders, you need spinners, you need weavers, and all that fun stuff. And so, so Maryland was more of a sheep festival, and it's slowly adding in a lot more of the yarn folks. And it has become much bigger over the years for that reason. But Rhinebeck was definitely more geared towards yarn, fleeces, natural fibers, things like that. I don't know about fleeces, so I shouldn't say that. I know that Maryland Sheep and Wool has a huge fleece sale, and they have fleece contests. I don't know if I've ever seen that at Rhinebeck, so I take that back. I don't know. I do feel that there's definitely more natural yarns available when you go to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival versus the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. But I do think fleeces are more readily available at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop right there. I don't know about the fleeces because now that I'm thinking about it, I do know that there is a fleece sale at Rhinebeck. So ignore everything that I just said about the fleeces. But anywho, Saturday, we went early, we set up our chairs, and then I made a beeline to a very particular vendor because I wanted to be able to talk to them and be able to choose amongst as many colors as they possibly had before colors got sold out. And so me and my friend Joan, we made a beeline down to the main barn, and I went straight to Daedalus. And I had been saving up for the year to buy my Starling spinning wheel. And I bought it in this beautiful maroon cranberry color. I did not buy any of the extra flyers, even though they were, excuse me, I thought a piece of the wheel had fallen. I did not buy any of the extra flyers for it because I don't see myself really spinning art yarn. I may try it one day, but I don't think I would try it on an electric wheel. And I don't think I will ever really be a super, super thin lace spinner. Although they did tell me that if I get very comfortable with this and can spin it up to full speed, I still could do lace on it without needing the special flyer and the special speeds and stuff like that. So this is my new e-spinner. I'm super excited to try her out. I have not given her a name yet, but I am sure I will have one soon, considering this gorgeous, gorgeous color. Oh, I am so excited. So the kit comes with the base, the standard flyer, 3 bobbins. I did purchase the longer cord, the longer power cord. I had to purchase the speed. I don't even know what it's called. The thing that makes it spin. Oh no, I've been hanging around my friend Ellen too long. The spinning thing, the thing that makes it spin. And that can be used if you wind up buying a second or a third or a different style Daedalus spinning wheel. That piece it can be interchangeable amongst those, so you really only need to purchase one. I am looking to purchase a battery pack for it so that I could take it spinning with me when I am outside. They no longer make them because they have found 3 very good ones and they link to them on their site. So that was my big Maryland purchase. Once again, I did not purchase any yarn, but I did purchase some fiber. So after I bought my Starling, I made a beeline down to Frederick Farms because they always have mill end bags left over. And I thought that would be a good purchase to practice trying to get a consistent sport weight yarn so that I could make the Traveler shawl. So if there is enough, maybe I will make the Traveler cowl with this one. So I purchased 2 of their mill end bags. So here they are. So I'm probably going to spin up this one on one bobbin and this one on another bobbin and then ply them together. And these are all, I believe they're straight BFL. I don't think there's anything else. I think these are both BFLs. Now they had the basket that I happened to be looking through. The sign said $20 for an 8-ounce bag $30 for a pound. The other baskets were labeled $20 and $40. I didn't realize that. So when I went up to pay, she said, okay, 2 for 40. I said, but the sign says 2 for 30. And I know when I purchased them the year before that they were that price. They were 2 bags for, I think it was 2 bags for $30 as well. And she's like, oh, I thought we took them all down. And somebody actually must have overheard our conversation, because she said, no, it is right here. And so she showed the I think her name is Lisa. I'm so bad with names. And I have so many conversations with these people. So the female dyer went ahead and gave me the 2 bags for $30. And while I was down there, I couldn't resist checking out their braids, because their braids are so inexpensive. I don't have the receipt in here, but I believe their braids were only like $12. So I brought a few that I think would work well together. Now I'm trying to remember which ones go with which. So here are 2. And of course they don't have any names on them. But this one caught my eye first because of the purples and this bright turquoisey blue here. And then I saw this one right next to it that had these same deep purples that matched with some reds and oranges. So I thought these will be cool to spin together and make a skein. And this again is straight BFL. So here's one. And then, remember how I said that I don't really, wear neons all that much? Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm not attracted to their colors. I saw this beautiful braid. Now, it's not as bright as the alchemy braid that I bought at Frederick Fiber Festival, but still, it was pretty and it was bright. And I saw this braid, which was very neutrals in gray tones. And I thought those 2 would be neat to spin together to make a 2-ply. I don't know why I am so attracted to these pretty vibrant neons, but I don't wear them as much as I like them. So did I need more fiber? No. What's this need you speak of? No, I didn't need more fiber. I have plenty of fiber here. And I am just a spinner who has been spinning for 1 year, so I don't need all this fiber. But the colors get me every time. So then after I purchased my wheel and this fiber, I went back to our little sitting area and I took a little break, because in the afternoon I was going to be at my class with Jillian Moreno. So I only had the morning to shop. So then I went down and visited 2 other of my very favorite booths. And I walked away with a couple of kits. And I still haven't done the kits that I purchased last year, but these were just so cute. And so I went to Going Gnome and I purchased this knitting gnome kit. And this one has enough fiber to make both of those gnomes. And then I saw my dragons. I am a big dragon person. But I don't know if these are new. I don't recall seeing them last year, but I saw the way they had it set up in their booth this year was they had one of these little dragon hatchlings, and it looked like it had either like a mama or an older sibling who had its paw resting on top of the egg as if it was like protecting it as it was coming out of its shell. And I almost bought that dragon too, but I'm like, Dorothy, slow your roll. You haven't even done the felted dragon that you bought last year. So I reeled it in and I just bought the egg dragon, figuring this was, even though it says intermediate, I think it's probably a little bit easier since it's pretty much a ball and it's mostly white. But this is going to be hopefully summer projects this year. My girlfriend Ellen, I believe, also has a gnome kit. So we're going to get together one day. She actually took a needle felting class at Sheep and Wool last year where she made a little sheep. So hopefully she remembers. Ellen, I am speaking directly to you now. Hopefully you'll remember what you learned in that class so that we can make the gnomes together this summer whenever you're in town long enough. And then once I have made the gnomes, I plan to make this guy. And I don't know what I'm going to name him yet, but maybe I'll have a name by the time I finish. And then if I feel confident enough, I might do the other dragon that I purchased last year. But I think the dragon I purchased last year is a red dragon because I really like red too. But anywho, this will hopefully be my summer plans after Tour de Fleece. And then just before then while I was down in that barn, I went through into the whirl and checked out their fibers, but it was too close to me having to go to my class to really hang out and look at the fibers and see what I liked. And I knew I would obviously miss out, but I had to head back to the seating area. And just as I got there, one of my friends shared a pair of knitting needles that she bought that are hexagon shaped. So they say they're supposed to be easier on your hands. So she went back. I asked her if she could run back and purchase a 16-inch set for me so that I could try them out on a pair of hats, as I needed to head back to my car and drop off all of my purchases and pick up my spinning wheel to head to my class. So she picked me up a 16-inch size 7. These are from Brick House Fiber Arts. They're called their Prism. They're made 100% in the US. At least that's what they claim. I'm assuming that is accurate, although I do know that not. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. Then these are called Prism Hexagon Circular Knitting Needles. So I'm looking forward to trying these on a hat and see how they feel, because I very much like my Addy Turbo Rocket, whatever these are. But these are, I don't think these are square shaped with the little ridges. These are all my knitting needles that I brought to Florida. My sock needles, I should say. So I thought I really wanted to try the hexagon to see if they would be easier on the hands as well, since I tend to knit a lot of hats when I have like single skeins and for charity knitting and stuff like that. And those were my Maryland Sheep and Wool purchases. So after that, I went to my class with Jillian Moreno, who is a super lovely person in person. So knowledgeable in her field. I will insert pictures up here, things that she talked about and shared with us and things that we tried, different ways of spinning, parallel spinning, what else? Mixing up braids. If you only have one braid, like if I had only bought one braid like this, what could I add to it to extend it or make it go farther, or how adding a different color could change the tone to it. It was just, my brain was just firing off with, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to do that study. I want to do that. I want to see how these colors play together, because for me as a beginning spinner, my thought process was, okay, well, 4 ounces is what is in a, technically 100 grams of sock weight. So 4 ounces should get me enough so that I could spin a sock weight yarn. Well, sure, after a lot of practice, but anyhow, but when you are first starting, you don't always get to that spinning, spinning a single ply thin enough to then do a double ply that is a fingering weight, or even a 3-ply that's fingering weight. You tend to end up with, I started off spinning Aran, and then I think I went down to, I managed to get it thin enough to be more of a DK weight, and then I think a sport weight. So I still haven't gotten the grasp of spinning thin enough for a fingering weight, but I felt like one braid was not enough to that when I spun it up was enough to make a project. So I felt like this class really opened me up to being able to say, okay, here's my braid. I could A, use it as it is. B, I could, spin all this up on one bobbin and then spin, say, a gray or a coordinated color or a contrasting color or something else, the same amounts on bobbin B, and then spin them together. And she had all these different samples where she took the same uh, colorway from a specific dyer and she spun them. She showed us different ways to break up the braids, and she spun them and then she knit up little swatches and she had them labeled, like this one was spun end to end, this one was spun as a fractal, this one she just chunked up and spun it anyway, and then she knit them all and she knit up all these different samples and sewed them together, so you had all these, I think it was like a 3x3 block, and so you got to see what this one braid color looked like when you spun it end to end, when you did it as a single ply, when you did it, you spun it end to end and then you chain plied it. You spun this color on one bobbin and you spun a natural on another bobbin, or a white or a brown or a gray or a coordinating color, or if you split up the braid and you took out a particular color from the braid, what it does. And it just like really opened my eyes to how creative and how much fun you could have. And ooh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit the stand. And how much fun you can have making yarn. So my synapses were flying. She had all this yarn, all this different colored fibers, not yarn, fibers on the ground for us to play with. And she gave us a card, which I cannot find right now, but we were supposed to, I didn't realize until the very end. So I was not a very good student in that regards to the class. We were supposed to spin up the different ways that she was teaching us or talking about, and then pull a little off and make like a sampler card of all the different ways that we tried. I didn't exactly do that, but I know to do that when I do this project, which I was also thinking might be my project for Tour de Fleece. I haven't fully decided yet. So and there's a reason why. So anyway, so as soon as the class was over, I had planned to head down to Into the Whirl. See, this is, there's a particular colorway that they dye that she used for the sample. And I can't remember, because she just loves the way they dye and how the dye flows on the fiber when you lay it out. And she used a particular colorway for her sampler. So I wanted to go down and see if they had that same colorway and to see what else they may have had left over that I would pick up, because, I have to have more Into the Whirl fiber. Unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it, we were able to leave all of our spinning stuff in the building that we took the class in, because it was towards the end of the day anyway. And I was about to head down to Into the Whirl, except when I came out of the building and was about to go down the hill, I heard a lovely rolling thunder, and the sky was just, coming in, and it got really, really dark. So I did an immediate U-turn because I know Maryland weather, went back inside, picked up my spinning wheel and all of my accoutrements that we picked up from this class, and headed to my car to head home. Thankfully, I managed to get to my car, managed to get everything inside the car, including myself, and just as I turned the car on, it started to drizzle. So I drove out, and just as I got onto the street that leads up to the main road, it started to really come down. And as I made it up to the main road and it was like pouring, not even the police officers were at this intersection. Normally they're at this intersection directing traffic, and a lot of times they won't let us make a right turn because it winds up hindering the flow of traffic. But the cops weren't out, and just as I turned onto that main road, it started to hail. And I was just like, I was looking around to see if I was going to see what's her name, Mrs. The Wicked Witch, pedaling on her bike or something. I mean, it was unreal. And I felt so bad for the vendors, because I mean, it was just a downpour. And the whole, and I'm like barely inching up. I mean, I don't even think I hit 5 miles all the way from the fairgrounds all the way down to the light at 32. So the intersection is 144 and 32. Normally that's like, and any other day, it's maybe like not even a 2-minute drive. We weren't even going 5 miles an hour. I was so afraid that I was finding like these little dents because I've never driven in a hailstorm. By the time I started to go down 32, it went away, and my girlfriends that are in Columbia that I'm texting were like, yeah, no, nothing's happening here. So I'm like, okay. So I made it home, and I knew I still wanted to get that yarn from Into the World. So I waited a couple of days because, you have to give them time. Sorry, I'm just pulling something up because you guys are just going to think this is hysterical because I'm just like, what the hell is going on? So I give them a couple of days, and then I placed an order. I placed an order for things that I wanted from the festival that I didn't get a chance to purchase there. And one is this fiber. It's called Prestidigitation. I love the colors of it. And then the name really sold me. But this is a mix. It's a 50% Polwarth, 30% llama, and 20% tussa silk. So I thought that was pretty. And then I placed an order. So wait, I placed an order for Prestidigitation. I placed an order for Coffee and Contemplation, which is on their BFL base. I just loved all the colors that are in that one. And then I placed an order for Captain Tight Pants, which they had on BFL. This is the colorway that Jillian Moreno used for all of her samples that she knit. So I knew I wanted this colorway in particular. She made this. She said that she used probably about 3 braids to make all the different samples. Now, again, she made them more as I want to say more of a worsted to almost a bulky weight spin. I would prefer to make maybe a DK to sport weight spin, but they only had one Captain Underpants on the website. So I said, you know what? If I do it for Tour de Fleece, I'm probably only going to get through one anyway. So I went ahead and bought the one. But when my package came in, I had Coffee and Contemplation, and I had Captain Underpants. And then instead of Prestidigitation, I can't even say it now, Prestidigitation, they had Rhinebeck in my package. So I immediately, laid them out, took a picture. It was the day that they got delivered. I immediately emailed them. It was the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. And I let them know that, I got my package. Unfortunately, there was an error. And I was really, like I said, it was Friday evening. It was the start of Memorial Day weekend. I was not expecting a response until Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. That night, Chris got back to me and said, I am so sorry. We do have a Prestidigitation. I will get that out in the mail to you. And please keep Rhinebeck on us as we made the mistake. So I now have a skein of the Rhinebeck color, which I absolutely love. And this is, again, on the Polwarth Llama Tussa Silk base. A friend of mine actually just made a sweater out of this color, which is stunning. And then, I want to say maybe a day later or sometime over Memorial Day weekend, they must have posted everything that they had left from Rhinebeck. And they had Captain Underpants up on, I think it was the Falkland base. And they had 3 skeins. So I placed the order for all 3 of those skeins because I wanted to do that sampling that Jillian Moreno had shared during our class. That has been on my mind since that weekend. So I placed the order. They got the order. They printed the label on sometime on May 18th or 19th. And according to the tracking, UPS was in possession of this package on May 19th. Okay, and it was in Fanica, New York. I never heard of this place, and I'm from New York, but it was in Fanica, New York. On the 21st, it arrived in Queens, New York at the distribution center. On the 22nd, it left and arrived in the Washington, D.C. distribution center, which, again, it's getting closer to me now. That evening, it arrived in Linthicum Heights, Maryland, which is normally the distribution center that it goes to right before it gets delivered to Columbia, Maryland, where I am. And this was, again, the 22nd, and it said it was supposed to be delivered, I think it was the 23rd or the 24th. I think it was the 23rd. 23rd came and went, no package. 24th came and went, no package. So I said, okay, let me see where my package is. So May 22nd, it was in Maryland. Next stop was May 25th. It was in Portland, Oregon. Why was it in Portland, Oregon? It was in Maryland. Okay, so it's in Portland, Oregon on the 27th. The 28th, it's in transit to the next facility. I'm thinking, okay, hopefully that means it's coming back to Maryland. Somebody made a mistake. No, on the 29th, it's in Jersey City, New Jersey. So now my package has gone from New York to Washington, D.C., to Maryland, to Oregon, to New Jersey. Then it left New Jersey on the 30th in transit to its next facility, Seattle, Washington. From Seattle, Washington, it went to Kent, Washington. From Kent, Washington, it went back to Seattle, Washington. And now it's in transit and arriving late. No shit, UPS. Or USPS, not UPS. I have no idea when I'm going to get this package. This package has flown back and across this country more times than I have. And I happened to share that with Chris at Into the World. And I said, I don't know when I'm getting this package, but hopefully this package won't go the same route. So as I'm following the tracking number for this package to see where it is, I see that it's in Ithaca, Maryland. And I'm like, I just had this dreaded feeling that it was going to follow Captain Underpants to Portland, Oregon. Luckily, it did not. But I am still waiting on my 3 skeins of Captain Underpants. That apparently has just left Seattle, Washington. These 3 skeins have more airline miles than I do at this point in this year. So anywho, that is my story. Those are my acquisitions. I am hoping I will have Captain Underpants by the time I do my next episode in 2 weeks. I may try and see if my mother would want to come on the episode and share some of her knitting and crochet experience that she had in Italy and in her early days. So we'll see. On that note, I am going to say farewell. If you have enjoyed this video, please, I hope that you will click on that like button, click on that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It really does help my channel grow. And then you can click on that bell so that you get notified every time I put up a new episode. Leave me a comment. I so love to read comments. It just is a bright spot in my day when I have a comment to read. Please know how much I appreciate you guys. I know this one was a long one. I am not going to share any of my books because I have talked long enough. Oops, sorry. I have talked long enough. I am not going to share the books that I have read recently, but I will have a link to my Goodreads account to basically to my list of what I've read in 2025 so far. And you are welcome to peruse that if you are looking for any good things to read. I am super excited to see that they are creating a Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I don't know what Passion Flix is, but supposedly it's on that. So I may just have to break down and buy that streaming package or that whatever it is when that comes out, because I love that series. And from the reactions that I have seen on Reels from J.R. Ward and the way that they have dressed up and created the actors for the series, she seems to think that it is exactly how she envisioned her characters. I would say Wraith, from what I have seen so far, the character Wraith, the way they did the actor was a spot on to what I had in my head as I was reading those books. Some of the others, not exactly. Some I could see. Others I felt were not the character that my mind had created when I was reading that series. But anywho, I am looking forward to watching this and seeing how they portrayed the books. I'm actually thinking of rereading the series just to refresh my memory, because I absolutely loved this series. And on that note, I am going to bid you farewell. I hope that you are crafting to your heart's content. I hope that you are doing things that bring you joy. If you are in a situation where the roles have been reversed, where you are now taking care of parents as I am here for you. I totally understand what you're going through. I understand the frustrations and the joys, because there are both when it comes to it. And if you ever just need someone to talk with, you can go back to the beginning. You can find my email address, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm a very good listener, not so great on advice, so I hope you don't look for advice from me, because this is my first time going through this. I am on the learning curve with you. And on that note, I hope you guys have a fabulous 2 weeks. I am doing my best to stick to my schedules. Hopefully, there will be no more emergency interruptions. And thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. Ciao, ciao.